Hello everyone, my name is John Whaling and I manage the commercial relationships for Royal Cyber in the APAC region. We welcome you today for the webinar, which is about transforming facility management with GWA and their IoT services project. This is hopefully a very insightful look into just how smart IoT can be in perhaps one of the less conspicuous places, and these bathroom facilities in commercial buildings. So I'm sure this is going to be quite an entertaining discussion. We have our esteemed panel here. We have Ritesh Patel, Chief Information Officer at GWA Group. We have Stephen Balkin, Head of IoT Systems, Mukesh Ramamurthy, who is Client Partner and Head of Delivery for Royal Cyber, and myself. And today we're going to be covering an overview of GWA's legacy and industry influence, the challenges and traditional maintenance approaches, and the business rationale behind GWA's IoT journey. And then we'll move into how the IoT implementation transformed not only their business, but many businesses and commercial installations around the world. And finally, we'll have a Q&A session where we welcome everybody's comments. By way of introduction, so Stephen, if you don't mind, if you could just tell us a bit about yourself and explain your role with GWA.
Oh, thanks, John. My name's Steve. I joined GWA about 18 months ago, and since then I've been working with the Smart Command product. I'm primarily involved in the cloud side of the product and getting data from customer bathrooms up into the cloud, processing that data and turning it into insights for our customers so that they can make better decisions and see how they're tracking with water usage.
So the obvious question, why Caroma Smart Command?
Yeah, so Caroma Smart Command gives our customers the opportunity to view bathroom data. They can use that to drive hygiene improvements. They can improve the building sustainability. Probably one of the really big and interesting pieces is the leak detection. The leak detection is provided by our eco valves, and an eco valve is basically just monitoring the amount of water that the entire bathroom is using. And if there's an anomaly, it might be that a pipe has burst or that we've got an event that's about to create a flood. That valve can actually shut off automatically and and the system will send an alert to the facility manager to let them know there's been a problem with the bathroom. We've detected a catastrophic leak and we've shut down the water supply. And the reason that the customers really like that is because it can directly affect an insurance premium.
Right.
By averting a major flooding event, you reduce your cleanup costs and your repair costs, and that reflects favourably in your premiums.
For sure, as well as upholds the integrity of the commercial management of the facility as well, because no one wants to walk into a flooded bathroom, right?
Yeah. Well, absolutely, okay. And because you're minimising the damage, you're also improving your recovery time.
Okay. Anything further with Caroma Smart Command?
Okay, so yeah, this is a quick snapshot of all the devices. They all connect to a gateway, and the gateway orchestrates the data retrieval from the devices and sends that to the clouds. And this is a slide which is just showing, it's quite interesting. We touched on changing user behavior. So Caroma, has a long history in water saving, starting with a half flush. And now we're taking that half flush story to the next level because we're actually able to monitor the ratio of full flush to half flush. And we know that statistically, we know that a toilet shouldn't be always full flush. I mean, sometimes it's full flush and sometimes the half flush event. But when we see a toilet that's always having the full flush action applied to it, then we can start introducing some educational signage, and then we can bump up that half flush component. And in doing so, we're saving a few litres of water in every flush. So this is a slide that is showing, the introduction of some signage and the impact that that signage has had on user behaviour. It's really quite interesting. And to your earlier point, this is done without actually identifying anybody. We just simply know what the behaviours are, put up some signage, and then we can see those behaviours change. It's really interesting.
Yeah, for sure. It's very insightful. Thanks, Stephen. I have to say that, we all perhaps may not appreciate this so much, but everybody at some stage of their life walks into a commercial installation and doesn't necessarily have a favourable experience when visiting a bathroom facility. So it's very good.
Yeah. And we can detect that as well, because I think we touched earlier on the idea that we can see some fixtures get heavier use than other fixtures, and if you know that general pattern of usage, and then you see a sharp change in that general pattern of usage, then you've got your fuzzy logic kicking in. You know that there must be something happened to one of those fixtures that's making it less desirable to be used, and then you can send a cleaning crew or maintenance up to evaluate or take care of the situation.
Thanks for that. Ritesh, if you don't mind introducing yourself and GWA Group.
Hi, my name is Ritesh Patel. I'm the CIO of GWA Group. Currently about 10 months into the role at GWA, and what we're trying to form is capability around our technology shop. So we're GWA Tech. We have a number of functions in our team, from cyber, from applications, from infrastructure and platforms, and obviously IoT services, which Steve is a part of. GWA is an organization. We are 70-plus-year-old company that's based in Australia, New Zealand, and the UK. We have one of the most famous brands in bathrooms called Caroma. And for those of you who don't know, Caroma invented the dual flush. The company has got a history of innovation and product innovation particularly, and was one of the early pioneers of IoT services. And today we'll probably explore a bit more of that journey and how we're transforming this particular space, IoT, bathroom and facility management, to the next level of maturity.
Very good. Yeah, very interesting. I'd never heard of GWA before, but obviously Caroma is a very well-known brand, and I have them in my house, so getting used very well. Okay, thank you. Right. Magesh, who is Royal Cyber, and how about your role?
Hey, John. I'm really happy to have a conversation with Ritesh and Steve today, and with you, John, about this insightful project. Thanks for the opportunity. Yeah. So I'm leading Royal Cyber as a regional manager in Australia and New Zealand. And I've been working with Ritesh and Steve for quite a while now in various initiatives. One is key one being the IoT projects. And other things are we are doing e-commerce, website development, mobile apps, all those kind of solutions, digital solutions for GWA.
What I'll do now is just a very, very quick, insightful walkthrough of who is Royal Cyber end to end. First of all, we obsess about customer and commerce technologies. We're also CX experts, so we're very much into the CX functionalities across the whole MarTech stack, as well as the commerce platforms. All things come with data. So we support our practices through our BI data analytics practices. We're the number crunchers, experienced designers in the UI and UX. We'll also provide customer service technologies as well as customer service support services. We have several innovations that we've created throughout our time, from 3D product visualization technologies right through to test automation. The topic of today's subject is on the IoT part of the spectrum with AI, machine learning and RPA. Full stack development, so we can go top to bottom, left to right. We also provide integration services for in-house and cloud-based technologies. We're also managed service providers in BAU mode as well as tech support. And finally, we're value creators. If you click on the images that are supplied with this deck through this presentation, you'll find that Royal Cyber is prolific in the way we present information out to the world based on webinars like this, or we may have topical subjects on almost any of the technology matters where we present those out as well. Another quick snapshot of Royal Cyber is that we are in 11 countries, from Canada right through to New Zealand, and we have 1,800 plus employees globally, and we have certifications on many of the platforms that are available in market today. Okay, let's shift now to the presentation in a panel discussion. I'll just stop sharing my screen. So let's start with the history and the timeline, if you don't mind, with the Caroma Smart Command. Perhaps if I could just warm up the panelists here and perhaps the audience. There's a quick IoT joke, and that is a tourist comes to visit this town and he's obviously lost it. He's got his map and he's trying to figure out where to get to the main tourist attraction. And he turns up to a local and says, "Excuse me, can you please tell me how to get to this tourist attraction?" And the local looks at the map first of all and he says, "Well, if I was you, I probably wouldn't start from here." So anyway, that's a quick IoT joke. And perhaps if we just go into the story about the history of the Caroma Smart Command, Stephen might start with you. If we just go back into the conceptual phases of the Smart Command project.
Yeah, no worries. I think a lot of this predates me, but I can tell you what I do know. So Smart Command is primarily targeted at our commercial customers. So we're talking about large office blocks and airports, hospitals, that sort of thing. So large infrastructure that's going to have a lot of bathrooms. And part of the reason is because if you can save enough water, then you can get an extra half a star on your NABERS rating. So NABERS is it's a measure of building efficiency, and that extra half a star translates almost directly into what the building is worth as a rental proposition. So I think there was a strong driver to continue with the Caroma and GWA legacy of saving water, finding ways to add value for customers, and that's given rise to the idea of Smart Command. So Smart Command was probably the evolution of the sensor taps. So sensor taps started to appear quite some time ago, and that's the tap where you can put your hand under the spout and the water will automatically start flowing. What Smart Command does differently is that the tap is programmable from the cloud. For starters, you can set your detection distances and sensitivities and how long will the water flow for before it stops, and you can force the water to shut off. And then you can actually start to monitor the usage of, and it's not just taps, you have to understand we're talking about toilets, urinals, even some third-party applications. So what we end up having is these bathrooms that are full of Smart Command products, the taps, the toilets, the urinals, and we're able to send that data that these devices generate up to the cloud, and we can start to understand usage patterns for bathrooms. We can start to understand if a bathroom needs to be cleaned. We can start to understand if a tap or a toilet is in need of a service. And through that understanding, we can deliver a lot of extra value to our customers. It's really quite interesting.
Okay, thanks for that. All right. So just moving on then for the theory of smart command and where it is now. Just want to have a look at some of the early challenges. If you don't mind, if you can just share, perhaps even when you came into the project, the state of the project and what you'd had walked into.
So I'll probably give a brief from my perspective, then I'll give it to Steve from a technical perspective. I think 10 months ago when we walked into started looking at the smart command project, there were probably a number of concerns. One was we had a IoT platform which was end of life and obsolete and getting deprecated, and the alternate upgrade was a cost increase of 400% higher from the current vendor. And also from a reliability and operational efficiency perspective, there were a number of challenges. So early on, I think when Steve and I were looking at this current platform to scale and grow Caroma Smart Command to the next level, we knew we couldn't stay with the incumbent IoT platform or the IoT provider, and a serious rethink of our platform architecture needed to occur. Steve?
Yeah, it was definitely an interesting time. The incumbent platform provider had announced the deprecation date. We had done proof of concept on the natural upgrade path, and that took a few months. And once we started talking about the financials, it really became clear to us that that this wasn't going to be something that we could move forward with, and that left us in a bit of a bind, because our only option was to do a fairly drastic platform migration. And for the most part, GWA is a Microsoft shop, so to migrate the platform to Azure was definitely our preference. But by the time the decision was made to do that, we were running very, very short on time and quite skinny on resources as well. So that I'm not sure, John, is that enough of a challenge?
It is very good for the challenge. So then, if the timeline serves correctly, Royal Cyber was invited in just to understand where you were with the current state of the project. And I had some previous experience with IBM Maximo and other technology platforms for asset management. And so detecting the challenge is definitely a unique one, especially because you're venturing into a business area that perhaps not too many other bathroom suppliers had ever thought of. So you're really at the bleeding edge here. What I might just do now then is just to throw to Mukesh, when Royal Cyber stepped in, just to have an understanding of the project and to provide some ideas and supports there. What were your views coming into the IoT project?
Thanks, John. Yeah, so at the point where the platform needs to be upgraded, we got engaged with the project and had good conversation with Steve and Ritesh and understood the current challenges. So we have our own expertise in terms of IoT. We did several projects around that. So with that expertise, we are able to consult Caroma on the way forward, especially around using the Azure IoT platform and how that can potentially improve the stability of the system, scalability of the system, and also it will be implemented faster so that we can get this transition completed before the incumbent platform goes out of support. So we started that project, and I think within 2 months to about 2.5 months, where we were able to get that platform up and running in Azure IoT, and quite successful endeavor, I would say, in terms of delivering that.
Mm-hmm. So you've got an inflection point where you're getting off one tech stack and onto another tech stack, and quite often the new tech stack doesn't have 100% alignment with the technology components. You may have some new features that you can introduce and some functions that are not in the new platform that were in the old. Can you just walk us a little bit through those challenges?
Yeah, look, fortunately, it's actually a little bit the other way around. The new platform's giving us a lot more opportunity, but yes, there were some compatibility issues, like our database was not set up for the new platform, and it needs to be migrated to MS SQL. Our data processing layer is using a different technology, so it needed to be wrapped up. And in fact, the database and the message processing is still on the old platform, and that element of the migration is, I think we're moving to the staging for testing this week. And then hopefully next week, all things going well, we'll start to be in a position to make good on our delivery date for putting everything into production in Azure. One of the really exciting things to come out of the new platform, Microsoft Azure gives us the opportunity to access a store full of modules that we can download to a gateway, and we have the ability to run modules on the gateway. So we're talking about edge processing, which is something that's brand new to us. Our gateway firmware is being completely rewritten to take advantage of the edge runtime, and that will allow us to update our gateway software in a more modular fashion, which will, it will drive reliability, smaller updates, and it will enable us to more closely monitor and control our devices at the edge, which will make things, more performant, less costs for processing data on the cloud and that sort of thing. So the migration is, it's had a few incompatibilities which have been a little bit painful, and they've needed to be addressed. But there's a real shining light at the end of this tunnel with all the goodness that comes from moving over to the Azure platform.
Very good. Ritesh, I'm keen to get your perspectives here. And, you've stepped into a new role with GWA, and this is one of the big projects that you've got on your books. And you've walked into that inflection point where changing an old tech to new tech. Any challenges that you saw, whether it's ideas, people, perhaps not quite aligning with each other?
It was significantly high risk. You think about our platform, which supports 200 buildings, over 1,000 devices, and you multiply that by our bathroom taps and showers we have, so potentially about 10,000 equipment across Australia. The easier decision is to stick to the incumbent and keep doing what you're doing. But fundamentally, we have to be bold in our thinking and really think about where we want to take this into the future. What's our cost base going to be? What's our customer experience will be like? How can we integrate this with other platforms? Particularly, how do you bring in AI? How do you bring in third-party integration? How do you sort of really expand this to be a world-leading platform? And when you sort of bring all those pictures together, we knew we couldn't stay with our current provider. So instantly the decision we made, and quite a bold one. And this is where I think Royal Cyber's partnership and the deep expertise in IoT and Microsoft sort of gave us the confidence to, we've got a partner who can support us through this journey. It is hard. It's very short time. I think you think about it, we had to get the platform in 3 or 4 months, That was a very short timeline. And usually you don't start, usually you would plan a project like this for 6 months to a year and then execute that. But we had to plan, execute, deliver, migrate in 3 months. And that was a significant undertaking by us, and probably a high risk undertaking from any IT project management standards. But given the platform was going to deprecate, we had no choice. So we made the bold decision. We partnered very strongly with Royal Cyber. We partnered with Steve and our IoT team. And they all really worked together on what is the critical path forward and how we move this platform. And, it's been a tremendous success. After all, our operation costs has come down. And, at any day, we have over 98% of gateways online in Australia. And the previous data to that was about...
It was closer to
50% online.
50%, wow.
So you can imagine the operational efficiency we've gained through that, and obviously the lower cost base. So obviously a very, very bold decision, but once you have the right expertise, partnerships, and the approach, I think, you sort of get through most challenges.
Okay.
Oh, that's
And so, sorry, Miguel, you go.
Thanks for that, Ritesh. So what is Caroma Smart Command, right? How an innovative program like this, right? Especially with a lot of companies running, doing foundational work, innovative project like this, right? How do you convince the board? What sort of what sort of roadmap you typically build to convince the board for a project like this, right? A big project like this.
I think for this particular one, it was probably one of the easier projects to sort of get buy-in. I've been in a lot of business cases through my life, but I guess the current state wasn't satisfactory. The current state was current gateways are failing, poor reliability, potentially 400% cost increase of staying with the current provider and upgrading to their platform. So the numbers were there. It was quite obvious. So based on those two key drivers, decreased costs, high operational efficiency, we built our business case quite easily and got an immediate endorsement by the CEO and the board to pursue a migration path.
That's brilliant. Support to a large innovative project like this, that tells about the forward-looking culture of GWA and also investment in sustainability. Right. That's a great support from the organization. Thanks, Tish. Over to you, John.
Okay. Thank you. So, Ritesh, in a nutshell, 3 months, you're in the heat of battle, I guess. What was it like? Herding cats? Was it orderly process? Differences of opinions?
The reality was making the decision was the easy part. But I just felt probably a story for Steve, and I'm sure he can show battle scars. But I guess what we did was we got two major resource profiles. So we had our existing IoT team with Steve and our, it's a small team. We managed to do this, and obviously our partners. But with Royal Cyber, we augmented that team with project management. So we got dedicated project management through this from Royal Cyber, and we dedicated that with IoT Microsoft engineering skill sets from the organization. So we built the team around our core team, and we augmented a few key roles around that. Based on that team, they worked in an agile fashion. They set up their critical milestones. They met every 2 weeks. And they worked very, 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 very focused in terms of what the task and activities required to deliver the outcomes we need to make this project a success. That's the high level, but I'm sure Steve, my friend over here, who's sitting next to me, will probably share the other battle scars and what really happened.
Look, this is not something we would have been able to do without Royal Cyber, and we had tried to get help from, we basically cast a wide net, and Royal Cyber was really the first and only company to come through with the expertise that we needed, which was fortunate.
Very good.
And the team from Royal Cyber, the technical team, were able to so seamlessly and easily quickly slot into our existing way of working. We had our firmware development being done by the incumbent gateway supplier. We had our web development and messaging to the gateways being done by another group. So the Royal Cyber technical team actually had to come in and start working with my team, the gateway team, the web development team, and then working with some of my peers to help set up platforms and make sure everything's secure. So by no means was it a small job, and it was really quite incredible how quickly these guys were able to come up to speed and show us the way. I mean, they were chosen for their expertise in Azure and the Azure IoT hub, but being able to be an expert in some technology and also but being able to step into a large group of people with all sorts of specialised knowledge areas and and make a contribution. It's quite something. It was very pleasing. It gave us a lot of confidence early that we had a chance of making our deadlines.
Very good. I guess this is preempting a little bit here, but Stephen, you and I had a conversation. It was about our tech lead on the project, Dig Sheth. You described him in one word. What would that be?
Deeks is he's a powerhouse.
Right, okay. I think you used the word weapon, but we'll settle for powerhouse.
I'll take weapon as well.
Yeah. He's an unassuming guy, isn't he? But certainly technically astute and also very well at structuring an argument. And so once people understand, he's pretty good with that.
He's also very humble.
Yeah, and that's important too, isn't it? Just being able to be cool, calm, collected in a situation like that. I just want to start to pivot now. We'll go into some of the technical details of the Caroma Smart Command, etc., and we'll do that at the end of this thing, at the end of this session. So we'll splice it in. But we just want to come back to the point here with the technology stack and everything like that. And the burning question for me is, you're now getting quite intelligent in one of the most private rooms of anywhere, commercially or residentially. And I guess it's time for another IoT joke, and that is, sitting at home with my wife, and I'm talking to her, and she goes, "I wonder if these devices are really listening into us." And my wife just laughed, and then Siri laughed, and then Alexa laughed. So I guess, when you come into it, you have now a lot of devices that are tuned into the technology. How private is this, and how sensitive are you with the data?
The data isn't particularly sensitive. We're not identifying any individuals, but I do know that people share that concern about going into a smart bathroom and there's a slightly uncomfortable feeling about, well, how smart is this and what can it actually hear and see? I think the truth is that most people are quite comfortable carrying their mobile phones in their pocket to the bathroom, and that certainly is a bigger privacy invasion. What we're collecting is the fact that a toilet was flushed and the fact that a tap was activated, and the time when those things occurred. So in a commercial building where a bathroom's used by tens or hundreds of people, there's no sort of personally identifiable or sensitive information that comes about. There are some applications where, say, in a hospital, for example, if you're staying in a private patient room, then there would be some record in the hospital as to who's in that room, but the bathroom data is not correlated with that in any way whatsoever. It's used for the maintenance of the building, not the maintenance of the person.
That's really reassuring. Thanks for that. And I guess an opposing question on this about data privacy security: could the system be potentially hacked, where someone could take over and all of a sudden all the taps go on or pipes burst or whatever?
We're currently on a journey towards ISO 27001, and that's been a really good opportunity to start looking at the security that's around the system. I wouldn't ever be naive enough to say that it's unhackable, but the system's using some fairly advanced technology to make that less and less likely, and the information that is transmitted between the bathroom and the cloud is probably not the type of information that anyone would be interested in. I think that the main attack vector that somebody would be interested in would be to get onto our network inside a customer building and then try to maybe hop onto some other network. But we tend to be using VLANs and stuff, and everything's locked down. So even if you could get onto our network, you can't get into the rest of the building.
Sure.
I think, Steve, also that apart from changing the IoT platform stack, getting ISO 27001, while the current gateways infrastructure have an encryption, chip encryption, we are also moving the entire gateways now to a new vendor, new provider too. So physically, we're changing the current gateway infrastructure. So with all of the combination of new IoT platform, ISO 27001 certification, and a better and more robust gateway, I think we just will enhance our security posture through that exercise.
Okay, thanks for that. I think it's now time to pivot to the road ahead. Ritesh, just keen to understand where you see the future of Smart Command.
Look, I think there's a number of things we talk about future. There is a future about footprint geographic. We want to expand from Australia to New Zealand to the Europe and the US. We think there's scope and potential for the technology we have. Then there's a feature regarding customer segment. We do want to bring this down to the customer level through our home bathroom and see how we combine our IoT platform, Smart Command, with things like Alexa and Google, and have intelligence around that. How we use AI and ML for predictive maintenance and predictive operational repairs for bathrooms and taps. So getting data from that, putting it through an algorithm, and really predicting when's the best time to clean and maintain the assets we have. Can we build new business models from the Caroma Smart Command, given we have the information, particularly around consumables, around soaps and toilet rolls, etc. Can we be a predictive supplier of those consumables and create a revenue stream for the organization? So when you step back, a number of opportunities to go from a geographic, from a market, from an after sales revenue stream, and also from where we create new products and services. So I think we're still young in the journey, but the road ahead is quite exciting.
Very good. And Stephen, for you as a technical lead, what applications do you think that you could take Smart Command to?
I think the big piece is integrating the data that we're able to pull out of the system. We can start thinking about guaranteeing bathroom service levels. This bathroom will always be running. We can start thinking about things like preventive maintenance on fixtures and avoiding bill shock when it comes time to do a large maintenance effort on a bathroom. We can start identifying the fixtures that need it most. So toilets and urinals and all that sort of stuff, they do need maintenance from time to time, particularly in those commercial settings. And through understanding usage patterns, and we can start looking at ways to enhance our offerings in those areas. I think that's a really interesting place to go forwards. More control over the fixtures, so that we can start putting things into holiday mode or after hours modes, and chop and change profiles that drive the water saving even further than we're currently managing.
For sure. Now, I'm not sure if this is quite an IoT joke, but I did some study at university, and it was a subject of proxemics, and that is the proximal relationships with human beings, either with each other or with their environment, and understanding where they fit, I guess, into the world. And one obvious thing for me is that when I walk into a bathroom, I am a creature of habit, and I'll look at it 7 cubicles and I'll go the second one from the right. And so there may be many people like me, and that means that cubicle might get a hammering. Any way to work around that?
Look, that it definitely happens. You're not the only one, John.
Yeah,
we see that we see that in our data that certain even taps, and you can start to correlate. Well, one cohort that prefers this toilet prefers that tap, and another cohort prefers that toilet prefers a different tap, and it's kind of interesting. But yeah, I think what you're talking about is there a potential to start load balancing the fixtures so that if one fixture is getting high usage, then yeah, we could actually find ways to disable it and
Put
force
the lock
people
on,
to
for
use.
example.
Yeah, it might be that we have some automatic signage, or we can lock a door, or we can do something along those lines.
Yeah. Yeah,
and then encourage people to use something else. But it also those usage patterns and the preference for one part over another part can also start to influence bathroom layouts, and it can also you can start putting lighting in, more strategically placed lighting to start to drive people into a more distributed, even use of the amenities.
I'm sure that anyone listening could probably attest to a point in time where they'd gotten themselves a little bit lost in the commercial bathroom and had to reorient themselves to find their way out again. So
some of them are very, very large.
Right. Okay. And what about other applications, residential, for example?
I think there's definitely a place in residential for smart bathrooms, and our focus is very much on the commercial side of things at this point in time. And water saving in residential's a use case that I'd be very interested in pursuing.
Okay, good. I'm not sure if I should run out and copyright this statement, but can we actually make the out of order sign a thing of the past in a bathroom?
I think that there's always going to be situations that arise where something will be out of order, but what we can probably do is, for example, put vandal detection technology into bathrooms, so that if somebody was trying to damage a bathroom, that we might be able to detect that in real time and get a security response or something like that. So we could definitely reduce out of orders, but I don't think we can eliminate it.
Very good. Okay. Not sure if perhaps this is one for Ritesh. I just wanted to have a look at now for the business benefits for your customers. So these are the commercial buildings, the hospitals, plants, and industrial installations. What is it? What's in it for them?
So I think when you look at just generally from a customer experience point of view, transparency, ability, consistency, all of those things are quite important. So for a customer like particularly hospitals right now where this technology will be implemented, you can think about the benefits of on how we maintain, clean, particularly against certain diseases. So what that means for them is that they can at any point trigger a general hot water cleanup of all the taps and devices to ensure that it's at highest medical standards in the organization to avoid diseases being spread, and that means that automatically, as opposed to people going there and activating taps on a manual basis. From an operational perspective and an efficiency perspective, a commercial building owner can monitor in seconds the status of their bathroom and sanitary ware dashboard in a couple of seconds, as opposed to trying to understand this from a manual walk around perspective and be reactive to issues. They can measure water pressure and determine if there's a leak happening in one of the bathrooms and instantly respond to that leak without even the tenant knowing potentially there could be a leak there. So that proactiveness around maintaining and repairing becomes quite important. And also, you think about water sustainability and being conservative. Having Caroma Smart Command in your buildings and a technology like this, which is very pro water sustainability, creates your building to a 5-star level. which attracts a certain type of tenant to your organization. So from a benefits perspective, for a hospital clientele, it means safer bathrooms, cleaner bathrooms. From a commercial perspective, lower cost of operations, improved transparency and a better tenant experience, and creating, from a sustainability perspective, again, creating a 5-star office environment.
And there's also hygiene.
Yeah, absolutely.
What we found coming out of COVID was that the touchless was really appreciated, but you can get touchless with a sensor tap. Customers were starting to prefer smart command because they got the touchless, but they also got the insight as to whether or not people were washing their hands and even how well they're washing their hands. And to your point before, I think there was the joke about Alexa and Siri. But, we don't know who the individuals were, but we do know what the pattern is. And then that enables us to generate an insight that we can share through our customer portal for facility managers. And then the facility manager can create a poster that, wash your hands.
20 seconds, yeah.
Yeah. And then you can actually see the shift in behaviour be reflected. So you can actually see that your poster is effective. And there's other things that you could potentially do, like more strategic lighting, and if you've got a greenfield site, then you can actually use the data that we generate to start informing about optimized bathroom layouts as well, to encourage the most hygienic behaviour and load balancing.
Then Ritesh, coming back to you, I guess, as the business, has that changed the way that GWA goes and sells these products into commercial installations, like offers the service that you could use this information in the design of a new building, for example?
Absolutely. Look, there's a big focus for us for this solutions around the hospital space. Now with increased reliability and operational performance we have Smart Command, there's a bullishness about creating specific solutions for that particular sector. Also in expanding our footprint to other commercial space. So in the past, they would have probably held back a bit given some of the challenges we had, but now with the new platform and reliability they're a lot more bolder in going to marketing, creating and finding new solutions.
So is this a vehicle for you to transform the GWA business itself?
Absolutely. I really believe that if you think about what we do, traditional bathrooms were just material-based bathrooms, right? Bit of materials to create them, and ceramic. But now we think there's a huge opportunity to transform what a bathroom experience is. They'll be being commercial clients right now, but at some point this will hit the residential sector, and how to transform an experience where probably, the bathroom experience could be listening to your news in the morning, could be getting some meditation done, or could be organizing a day. So what that experience is, sitting in front of a mirror, an IoT mirror, and looking at it, you can do a number of things. So that's the fun part we have in our roles. How do we redefine that feature? How do you redefine a brushing experience? How do you redefine a washing your hand experience? And that's the challenge Steve and I have.
Yeah, growing up as a young lad in the 70s,
Don't give you age.
it was pretty hard. It was pretty hard to find an Australian household that didn't have Caroma taps and toilets in the bathrooms. I mean, they were just everywhere. I can see that with the smart solutions, there might be an opportunity to return to those days where a Caroma smart tap is in every house in Australia. I think that's a possibility.
And with manufacturing the way it is today, it's definitely a far more competitive market than it was perhaps in those times, right?
It is.
With scale and efficiency, and also transport costs, etc., coming down. Okay, what we will do now, perhaps just before we do hand over to the Q&A session, Mukesh, any observations, final words from you, just before we go to Q&A?
Sure. I think it's one from my experience working with the team. It's one of those very innovative and I would say product development in IoT space, especially with agile methodology, experimenting new things, trying out new devices and new softwares to make things work best for the customer. So we have learned quite a lot by working on this project as Royal Cyber in terms of um, you know, understanding what the customer would require and how to deliver that. So I would like to simply say thank you to Ritesh and Steve.
Very good.
Thanks, Mukesh.
Thanks, Mukesh.
And just a word from me, I guess. The one thing that I do love about working with Royal Cyber is that we are innovators, and we have our AI teams and the IoT teams and RPA, etc. And they do interact with each other, and they'll take these cool things back. Obviously, when taking the IP or whatever is the customers. But we do take the concepts and ideas and then we roll them back into our organisation, and we do then learn from them, and then we can see how we can innovate further with them. And it is actually a quite a pleasing thing to watch, the organisational capability here. So that's my shameless plug for Royal Cyber here. And so with that, what we'll do now is we'll hand to Q&A. So welcome everybody to the webinar today, and looking forward to hearing from your questions that you've either posted in the chat pod or on our Q&A online link. Okay, thanks.